Hi, I hope this finds you well. So, I was in a meeting the other day with some lovely women, and we were talking about worship and what that looks like for each of us as individuals. And it was really interesting because at first it started off as what worship looks like in church and how it makes us feel. Um, and, the good side and the bad side. And, for some, there was a little bit of discomfort. For others, there were certain scenarios where they found real joy and comfort in worship, and it was a very wide-ranging discussion. And it was interesting because there were some that really liked lively worship with a worship band, but there were others that would prefer quieter worship, and in fact almost in silence, and they want their worship to be more thoughtful and to contemplate more. And I just found it interesting how we've all got different ways of thinking about worship. But then I started to think more about it, what it looks like for worship to be a lifestyle, to live a lifestyle of worship. Because let's face it, we are in church for a couple of hours on a Sunday, and worship, we might be singing for about 45 minutes, but what goes on for the other six days and 22 hours? Where does worship sit in that? Do we put worship in a box of, well, I'm listening to my worship music, or when I have my quiet time in the morning? It's interesting. If you look at the definition of worship, it's to show profound devotion and respect, to adore or venerate, to be devoted to, and full of admiration, express feelings of adoration. And that whole thing about being devoted to God is a part of my worship. Everything I do is devoted to him. And so if you look at Colossians 3, it says, "For we are to live our lives with pure hearts and the constant awe and wonder of our Lord God. Put your heart and soul into every activity you do, as though you were doing it for the Lord himself and not merely for others." That is an act of devotion. That is an act of worship. So you do it wholeheartedly and devotedly to God, even the bits that you're not enjoying, even the bits you don't want to do. If you are having a more mundane day, like for example doing the polishing or the washing up or taking the dog for a walk, it says every activity, and it is an act of devotion to God, an act of worship. It's every part of you. And I was reading an article about this, and the lady that wrote it was quite interesting. She said worship as a lifestyle should be almost like a habit in our thought patterns and in our actions. And I thought, I'm not sure I like the word habit really, because that sounded a bit mechanical, and we tend to think of habits as being a little bit harmful, like smoking or biting your nails. But actually that wasn't the heart of what she was saying. She was saying it a little bit like, all this time I've been talking to you, I've been breathing. That's a habit. It's a habit that I have no control over, because that is what I do. And the reason I do that is to keep my body alive. There are parts of my body that I haven't got a clue what they're there for. I don't even know where they are in my body. But I know that they work in conjunction with other parts of my body to keep my body healthy and alive. And so to worship in our spirit, it's a spiritual connection to God. That's what it is we are worshipping God because we were created to worship, to keep us alive in him. Because it says in John, "Yet a time is coming and has now come when the true worshippers will worship the Father in the Spirit and in truth. For they are the kind of worshippers the Father seeks. God is spirit, and his worshippers must worship in the spirit and in truth. So it's not always being fitted into a box of singing and, we do it this way, but it is just living that life for God. Everything we do is devoted to him. The good bits, the bad bits, the mundane bits, the sad bits, the happy bits, all of it. If we are living our lives devoted to God, yearning for more and more of him and to go deeper, then we are true worshippers. Have a lovely day.